Howdy folks, and welcome to the Hillbilly Kitchen. Today we're making church window cookies. This is an incredibly easy recipe. And it's perfect for Christmas time because it's colorful, all your church dinners, vacation Bible school, all that kind of stuff. And kids are going to love to help make these because they're extra messy. All you need is a 12-ounce bag of semi-sweet chocolate, a half a cup of chopped toasted nuts, and I'm using walnuts. You can use any nuts. You can use pecans, peanuts, just whatever you got. A half a cup of butter, which is 1 stick, a 10-ounce bag of little mini multicolored marshmallows. And that's what makes them look like church windows. So you do need the multicolored marshmallows. And you need about 2 cups of shredded coconut. I'm using sweetened. If you want to use unsweetened, you can. And a teaspoon of vanilla. Now, the only heat involved in this recipe is we want to melt our butter and our chocolate together. You can do it in a microwave or you can do it on the stove on really low heat. But what I find is easiest is to dump my butter in a pan and melt my butter. And then I use the heat from my pan and my melted butter to melt my chocolate. And I don't have to worry about burning it. You know, you don't need that much heat to melt chocolate. So if you just get your butter hot and your pan fairly warm, you can melt the chocolate. There's no chance of scorching it and no chance of overheating it in the microwave. It's very, very easy to destroy your chocolate in a microwave if you get it too hot. It just lumps up and then you can't use it for anything. It don't work anymore and it don't taste good anymore. These are refrigerator cookies, so we're not going to bake them. It's not going to heat up the house. Like I said, the only heat is just to melt the butter and get your pan hot so you can melt the chocolate. And you can do it in the microwave if you want to. They're a good recipe for all summer long because they don't heat the house up. But they're really pretty during the holidays at Christmas time and stuff because of all the colors in them. And like I said, it's a good recipe for even the little kids because there's not much heat involved. Once you get everything melted, you can pretty much let the kids do the rest of it. And if they're a little bit older, there's not much chance they're going to get burned just getting the pan hot enough to melt the butter. The only thing, I guess, that might mess them up doing it this way would be if you let your butter get too hot. You don't want browned butter in this. It would change the flavor too much, I think, and this is not a browned butter recipe. Now, all I'm going to do is add my chocolate chips into my pan and stir them around. And like I said, let the heat in my pan melt my chocolate. If you've ever had a candy bar in the summertime, you know it just don't take much heat at all to melt chocolate. So the heat that's in that pan and in that butter is more than enough to melt it and make it super smooth and creamy. Okay, now that our chocolate is all creamed, we're going to go ahead and add in our vanilla. The vanilla is optional, but I think it really, really improves the flavor. I mean, vanilla in any kind of candy or cookie, it just makes it so much better. And add in your nuts. You do want to make sure this is not too terribly hot when you add in your marshmallows because you don't want the marshmallows to melt. If they melt and totally blend in the chocolate, then you're not going to have the colors in your cookie like you want. But it does have to be warm enough that it's still going to stick together because that chocolate is the only thing that sticks all this together. And if you let it get too cold, it won't stick together. I just touch mine and it's not too so hot that it's going to melt my marshmallows. And that's how I test it. You want it maybe just a tiny bit warmer than body temperature, and that's it. I do have me some paper towels here all ready to go, because this, like I said, is a messy recipe, and that's another reason why the kids are going to love it. So once you've made sure it's not too hot, go ahead and add in your marshmallows. And you just want to fold them in until they're pretty well mixed up. And I do it all in my pan rather than get out a bowl, because, you know, what's the point in cleaning up a bowl and a pan? You do want to stir these until they are very well combined and your chocolate is all evenly distributed with your marshmallows, so you don't have big globs of chocolate in your cookies. They're kind of crumbly. They're better the day after you make them, the texture is, but if you have the big chocolate in there, it's going to make them more crumbly and make them tend to fall apart more. So make sure you get this mixed up pretty well. Now the only other thing you need is either some plastic wrap or some wax paper. And I have wax paper here, and you need 3 pieces. Spread your 3 pieces of wax paper out and divide your coconut up evenly or fairly evenly between your 3 pieces, and kind of spread it out just a little bit, not too terribly much, because we're going to use this to coat the marshmallow chocolate mixture and kind of form it into a roll. You want to divide your mixture up into 3 pieces and form it into about a 10-inch roll. And you don't have to be exact with it. I don't measure it or anything. Like, I didn't measure the coconut. I just put it out there where it looked about even. And then what I do is I take spoonfuls of my marshmallow chocolate mixture and just kind of lay it out on my coconut. If you don't get it divided perfectly even, it's not going to destroy anything, and it's not the end of the world. You know, just some of your rolls will be a little bit shorter than others, and you'll have a little bit of extra coconut on here. You know, the extra will just fall off, but you have to have a little bit extra because this is, like I said, very sticky and it's very messy, which is going to make the kids love it even more. And this is the part that they're really going to like, and you're probably really not going to like. But you want to kind of coat this and form it into about a 10-inch roll. And then we're going to put it in the refrigerator and let it sit in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours. Anything like this that has to sit in the refrigerator never makes it for as long as it's supposed to in my house before somebody has to have some. I cut some yesterday after about, I don't know, maybe an hour and 30 minutes, and it wasn't quite firm enough. It was very hard to cut. And I took these out after about an hour or two and kind of rolled them again to improve the shape, because it's kind of hard to get them shaped good when they're still real warm. They tend to sort of fall apart a little bit. And after about an hour, you can take them out and roll them a little bit and get them shaped more round if you want to, which you don't have to. I mean, if they're not perfectly round, they're still going to be pretty. You're still going to have the different colors. But that's kind of how I shape mine right there. Make sure you get that coconut all around the outside. If you don't like coconut, I mean, if you just absolutely don't like it, and I know some people have an allergy to it, you could roll them in some chopped nuts. You could still put the nuts in the middle, or you could leave the nuts completely out of the middle and chop you up some nuts real fine and just roll them in chopped nuts. They would be good rolled in pecans or walnuts or peanuts or whatever you got. Now all you want to do is roll it up and put it in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours. It is better if you put it in overnight. I'm going to get these other two kind of shaped here real quick, because if you let it completely cool down, it won't really stick together and it won't make good cookies. So once you get it in the coconut, you do kind of want to get it rolled out and shaped fairly quick. I mean, you don't need to be in any drastic hurry because it's not going to set up for a while. But as it cools, it's less sticky and it's harder to get the marshmallows and the chocolate and stuff shaped and stuck together good. Now the hardest part of this recipe is the wait time, waiting the 2 hours or overnight to cut them, and cleaning up your hands. Because you're using the wax paper, you don't really even have a huge mess in the kitchen. You just got that one pot to wash and wipe up a little coconut. So I'm going to clean up my hands, and then I'm going to show you what they look like when they come out of the refrigerator. And all you do at this point is you just want to slice them. Now, I sliced some in a couple, well, I said an hour, 45 minutes yesterday or less, and they were a little bit hard to slice. But if you leave them overnight, they slice much easier. Now, you don't want to use a whole lot of pressure to slice them, because if you do, you'll break them apart. You want to kind of saw back and forth, and you want to have a pretty sharp knife for this. If your knife is dull, it'll be kind of hard to cut them. But once the whole cookie firms up good, the whole roll of cookie, the marshmallow and everything, it is much, much easier to slice them. So if you're going to be making these for a get-together at church at Christmas time or something, or Sunday school or vacation Bible school or something like that, if you're making them for a get-together at home or to take to somebody else's dinner, definitely recommend making them the day before and let them sit in the refrigerator overnight. These are gluten-free, so if you have folks with gluten-free allergies, these will work for them. I have a lot of requests for gluten-free stuff. So you've got a refrigerator cookie that doesn't heat up the house and it's gluten-free. If you have somebody with tree nut allergies, you can use peanuts in it. And if you have somebody with peanut allergies, of course you can use the walnuts or the pecans, and that will fix that problem, or you know, those people will be able to eat them. I would just ask if I was going to be taking them to like somebody else's house around the holidays or something, and see if anybody had any allergies, and then adjust the recipe for those allergies. It's really easy to do. If you have somebody with tree nut allergies, I think coconut's included in that, so you would want to roll them in some chopped peanuts, I guess. If you have peanut and tree nut allergies, though, I don't quite know what to tell you. But you can see they slice pretty easy. They hold together much, much better after they've been refrigerated overnight. I don't know if you can see it or not, but in the cookies that I cut yesterday, before they got super, super firm, I've got some cracks in my chocolate, and that happened when I cut it. But if you let them sit overnight, the chocolate doesn't do that. The texture is much better. Now, I also recommend, if you're making a bunch of these and you're going to be eating them just a few at a time, leave them rolled up in the log until you're ready to serve them, and then just cut them right before you're ready to serve them. It keeps them together, it keeps them fresh, and it keeps them pretty. You don't have to worry about the coconut sticking, you know, on your marshmallow part and covering up the color of the church window. These only take 10 to 15 minutes to mix up at the most. And then you put them in the refrigerator, and it just takes a minute to slice them. So if you need a dessert to take to a potluck or a get together and you don't have time to bake a bunch of cookies, or you don't have time to make something that's going to take hours, these are the perfect solution. And like I said, for allergy people, you can adapt this recipe and you can make it so just about anybody can eat it. Hang on to this one on those hot days. It's great. And when you're in a hurry, it's great. And it is the perfect thing to take along if you're going to somebody else's dinner. You can cut them and arrange them on a plate before you go, or you could even cut them when you get there. Before we go, I want to leave y'all with Matthew 11:28. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. I know there are so many people who are struggling right now, and there is rest in the Lord. And Jesus told us that He has prepared a place for us. And He's told us that He will share our burdens with us. So if you are struggling and you need help, there is help. Trust in the Lord and He will take care of you. Thank y'all so much for joining us in the Hillbilly Kitchen. If you have not already, please don't forget to click like and subscribe before you leave. And until next time, remember to put God first.